Hi, my name is Miss Rosie. Thank you for joining me for this project called Lines, Lines, Lines. We're going to explore lines because lines are so important to art and life. They're all around us. And we're going to get started thinking about lines by reading one of my favorite children's books, The Straight Line Wonder. And then we're going to think about where we can see lines in our own lives. So let's start this journey together. Today we're going to read a book called The Straight Line Wonder. It's by Mem Fox. Mem-Fox. Mem Fox. I love that name. And the pictures are by Mark Rosenthal. He's the illustrator. This is a book from the public library. It was published in 1997 by Mondo Publishing, and it may be subject to copyright protection. Once upon a time, there were 3 straight lines. They were the best of friends. 1, 2, 3. One day, the first straight line said, "I'm tired of being straight all the time." And he began to jump in humps. "Stay straight, silly," said the second straight line. Look at the lines coming out, showing his frustration. Whoop, whoop, whoop. "People will stare," said the third straight line. He's got some angry lines too. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. "I don't mind," said the first straight line, and he kept on jumping in humps. Next day, the first straight line began to twirl in whirls. "Stay straight, silly," said the second straight line. "People will stare," said the third straight line. "I don't mind," said the first straight line, and he kept on jumping in humps and twirling in whirls. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. A few days later, the first straight line began to point his joints. "Stay straight," said the second straight line. "People will stare," said the third straight line. "I don't mind," said the first straight line, and he kept on jumping in humps, twirling in whirls, and pointing his joints. Not long after that, the first straight line began to creep in heaps. "Ooh, ooh, ooh, ooh." "Stay straight, silly," said the second straight line. "People will stare," said the third straight line. "I don't mind," said the first straight line, and he kept on jumping in humps, twirling in whirls, pointing his joints, and creeping in heaps. Finally, the first straight line began to spring in rings. "Stay straight, silly," said the second straight line. "People will stare," said the third straight line. "I don't mind," said the first straight line, and he kept on jumping in humps, twirling in whirls, pointing his joints, creeping in heaps, and springing in rings. He went woo, 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 whoop, 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 whoop. Ooh, 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 ooh. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. "Stop that this minute," yelled the other straight lines. "You're supposed to be a straight line, remember?" And they ran off and left him. One day, a famous film director happened to see the first straight line jumping in humps, twirling in whirls, pointing his joints, creeping in heaps, and springing his rings. One after the other, and then all together. And there you can see the famous film director. He's wearing a beret, that kind of hat. And he's got a really special line coming out from him and going to the first straight line so that you can see where he's looking. And that's called a dashed line. And what kind of sound could that make? Maybe do, 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 do. "You're a wonder," said the famous film director. "I just love the way you move. Come and be the star in my latest movie." And so it was that the first straight line grew up to be a great star. Now he jumps and humps every day, and twirls and whirls, and points his joints, and creeps and heaps, and springs and rings. He dances entranced, and pauses for applause, and bows to the crowds who throw flowers for hours because they love him so much. The other straight lines are pleased to know him. He's my friend, says the second straight line. He's my best friend, says the third straight line. And the first straight line is tremendously happy because he never has to be a straight line again. The end. Oh, there's some straight lines on the back of the book. And they're diagonal, and they're parallel. There's lots of them next to each other. There's two different colors. They're making a pattern. Orange, yellow, 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 orange. But we can talk about that later. So after reading The Straight Line Wonder, I love the way the first line moves also. And so I just wanted to get up and move too. It looked like so much fun. And as I was moving around, I thought I was seeing lines everywhere, inside and outside. I saw wavy lines, I saw straight lines, I saw some zigzag lines, I saw some curly lines, and I saw some curved lines. And some of the lines I noticed were going up and down, and some of them were going side to side. So some of them were going vertical, and some were going horizontal, and then some were even slanted. So some were going diagonal. And then I realized that I was wearing lines, that my shirt had lines all over it. It has all these straight lines on it. A lot of them are horizontal, but some of them are diagonal. And I noticed that there's a pattern. White, blue, white, blue, white, blue, white, blue stripes all over. And that's an A-B pattern. I hope you enjoyed listening to The Straight Line Wonder and thinking about how we can see lines all the time in our everyday lives. I want you to go out and see if you can see some lines in your life. You might see some lines that are down low if you're looking low. You might see lines if you're a really good detective and you look up high. And you might see some that are at eye level. And you might see some that are inside, and you might see some that are outside. The main character in the book was the first straight line, and he turned into a lot of different kinds of lines, about 5. So see if you can find about 5 or 6 different lines where you are.